What's up YouTube? It's JC Audits here. I'm going to do a couple of videos in tribute to two of our regular contributors to this channel. Olibob203 has really struck my attention, and I would want to read out one of his posts that I've already read and one post that I haven't. Okay, so maybe with some commentary. So Olibob 3 days ago wrote, at JC Audits, so ultimately I know that if a system, this is all Olibob here, so second now. So yeah, sorry, I had to just come out for a moment. Yeah, so Olibob basically says that, so ultimately I know that if a system rose up to replace what we have now, it would end up being taken over by those craving power. Okay, so essentially there's no point in starting up something new, because once it was successful it would be taken over by the cravers, the power cravers. I do think, this is him, I do think there are some good politicians, but I do think people who really don't care to gain, people who really don't care join to gain power. There are some who do on both sides. Okay. So presumably there's some who do care on both sides, or some who don't care. I think on reflection there's either some who do or some who don't. What he's trying to say is that no one side is better than the other in terms of politics. I think proportional representation has a great merit to it. I voted for it, and this could at least fairly represent voter share rather than boundaries dictated by any party that's in it to favour themselves. Okay. Fair enough. Okay, proportional representation. I don't know much about politics. I barely know what proportional representation is. However, I would say, and I'm just, I'm not necessarily being devil's advocate here, so just hear me out. I think that first past the post is better because it can stifle far-right extremist groups from taking hold of Westminster. I'm just putting that out there, okay? So it's basically a huge check and balance. So maybe comment on that if you want. I do support unions. This is him again. They're an evil necessity, okay? So that flies in the face of one of our other regular contributors to this channel, who is Trucker from Reno, who thinks unions are vermin. Okay, so basically, he goes on to say, having been in a union talks as an engineer and watch all the bad things come on to the smallest party without a voice. However, they also are militant and often too heavy-handed. At Vauxhall, I watched them fight a perfectly reasonable request to work out breaks. We would get an early dart written into our contract, I believe, on a Friday afternoon shift, and we would be able to group breaks together. So grouping together actually benefited us, and the unions fought it, and they made us do it with no benefits, which was petty. But I've also seen management abuse power. I don't like the communist nature of unions, but ultimately the only power we have is together. So that's a really important statement there. One knocking communism, but mostly that humans really only have power when they collaborate. Meaningful power, so deadly power. In fact, this is JC talking. In my view, that we were so successful over other animals because, including others from, other humans, the early humans that knocked around with us, like Homo erectus, Homo neanderthalis, and who were some of the others that we could have lived alongside? Homo floresiensis, Homo heidelbergensis. Second out. So just bear that in mind, that basically, I think cooperation is so important. So I agree with Olibob there. So what else is he saying? He's saying that only power we have is together. Look at the strikes at the moment. Money has been found, and rightfully so. 10 years of pay cuts. I'm not quite sure what he means by that, but maybe he's saying that unions have supported the strikes even after 10 years of pay cuts. The system is corrupt. I would like to see better powers to stop it, but I am not naive enough to think I could build a better system. How humble of Olibob for saying that. History has taught us, even if I could, as in build a better system, a megalomaniac would stab me in the back and control it for their own purposes. So what he's saying, there's no point in trying, because I'll just get stabbed in the back, and my system will be just used for, essentially for self-serving, elite, and buddy systems, old boy system or whatever. He goes on to say, ultimately, I know that some things are out of my control, so I try very hard to love. This is beautiful what he says here. So I try very hard to love and bless people within my circle of influence. So what Olibob is saying here is, he goes for what he can control in life, in terms of where he can make a difference, and that's such key to this, living in today's confusing and time zapping environment, that where you might compare yourself to others and you're wondering what to do in life, and so many choices, and he's saying just kind of the stuff that we can't control, just kind of don't sweat that. Go for the people we can really influence in our lives, and just really try and I wouldn't say try and please them, but try and give them the love back, I would say, or try and love them. He says try and bless them, I think. He says bless them and love them. Try very hard to do that, he does. He goes on to say, I will try petition governments, influence policymakers, and I think you say he gets known to help the poor in relation to the work he does. So that's good, isn't it? And then he goes on to say, but I do have to give over to God the stuff I cannot change. Otherwise, I could walk around all day in a mild state of peril, in a fatalistic attitude. Not sure what he means by that, but I think he's talking about, just saying, it's not worth it. Oh God, it's all useless. I can't do anything, So basically, So he has to give it over to God. I have a belief we can make things better in the world, and a hope in humanity. So hope for humanity. The problem is people have short lives and memories. Look at the Bible to see generations of God-fearing people were replaced by people who would watch stuff burn. So basically, I think he's saying there that, you know, you can believe in God, which is great, but then, you know, what if your children don't, you know, and basically I think what he's saying is it's very hard to do things in our short lifetimes. So it's a very interesting point of view, that is. So, but he goes on to say, at my fatalistic worst, I would say that the system needs a total reboot. So this is him at his most draconian, Olibob, saying that the system needs a total reboot. At my best, I would say we need to introduce bodies that can effectively weed out corruption and help keep integrity. So anti-corruption built into the system. I know, and he goes on to say, I know that often those regulatory powers become the new evil. So he's even saying that, you know, even if you do bring in a new anti-corruption system, those running the anti-corruption become corrupt themselves. Then he goes on to say, I just hope people with integrity rise up to change the world. So that's really important. So he does have hope for actual humans to change the world. And that's very interesting. So even though he's saying he doesn't think he wants to do it himself because it's all futile, he does think that he hopes others will rise up and do it. But clearly people with integrity. And he goes on to say, hopefully have that integrity fixed in Jesus, and that's key. Listen to that. So what he's essentially saying is those that believe that Jesus died and was resurrected, and that Jesus paid for our original sins, and that we are effectively, through Jesus, we are sinless, we are pure, but that, you know, that pureness needs to be matched in our voices and in our actions. So he's essentially saying, fixed in Jesus. I'm guessing that's applying to himself. But interestingly, he says, or a resource outside themselves. So he's not ruling out other religions, or somebody with a fixed point. I'm guessing with a fixed point full of integrity that's not subject to their own feelings and own sins, if you like, of the flesh, or greed, avarice, fleshly desires. So something essentially with some kind of moral code that's outside of themselves, like, you know, not changing. So whether that's a god or something else, it's not clear, but it does show a lot of maturity and I'd say hope, you know, that I believe himself, who is a Christian, he's saying that he doesn't say that non-Christians should not rule. Even though as a Christian he would believe that these other people would go to hell and suffer eternal torment. I shouldn't put words into his mouth, but I think all Christians would believe that. However, what he's saying is very encouraging. I've never heard a Christian say that, and I'm delighted to hear that. I do want to mention something else that he said in another post, and let me try and get that up as well. Let's see if I can get that up now. Yeah, so he made another post. I haven't read it really. He made this a day ago, and it says, at JC Audits, I do like the idea of a minister for men. I know it's controversial, but men are massively falling behind girls in learning, more likely to be in crime, and more likely to do unskilled manual jobs, of which, I guess numbers of such jobs are dwindling, particularly amongst working class people. Better engagement of subjects, investment into projects that can help tearaways. See, in our society, there are. So better engagement. So helping tearaways. See, in our society, they're a threat, but 1,000 years ago they would have probably been a decent hunter-gatherer, or decent hunter, and busy doing helpful stuff and had a purpose. So what he's saying, that kind of aggression, I guess, and if you want to say virile sort of boisterousness, now might be difficult in the society, but back then it was really helpful 1,000 years ago, and they had purposes. So he does say here, go on to say, Olibob, that men without a purpose is extremely dangerous. That's how extremists' ideologies are bred and consumed. So what a deep and far-reaching statement that is. So, and he's singling out men here, and maybe you can, write in the comments, or think, if you don't write in the comments, is he justified to single out men, and specifically saying men without a purpose, being a very, very dangerous point. Of course, the government's prevents strategy, I think it tries to target extremism and prevent extremists from developing extremist ideologies. Is designed to target, I think, men, perhaps, maybe even men without a purpose. So it'd be interesting to see if anyone knows about prevent strategy, and if anyone's read it, and does it target men without a purpose, and how does it target them? So Olibob goes on to say, and this is the last paragraph here, that he goes on to say that the breakdown of the family unit doesn't help, but some lads are forced to do stuff that actually isn't helpful. Not sure what he means by that, unless it's handwriting at school, practicing lines or whatever. I do like, not lines of coke, just practice their own handwriting over and over again. I do like the idea of making engineers from 13, as in age 13, allowing responsibility and the ability to earn money. So I don't think he's talking about child labour there. I think he's talking about giving children responsibility early on to make their way in life, and to make their own decisions, if you like, outside the framework of adults, giving them a bit more power and leadership in themselves to do. So to do, if you like, take the lead and maybe become more self-sufficient. I think what Olibob203 is saying, I think, is very interesting, summarising that he thinks that more should be done for younger people, younger men, and more power should be given to them, so that they have a purpose starting very young, to make their own decisions. He thinks that amount of manual jobs are dwindling, so there needs to be better investment into projects that can help younger people. And yeah, he's essentially, if you like, in his other post, he said that he wants people to stand up with integrity that is anchored outside of themselves, and go forward and change the system. Although I think he has some skepticism that that's ever going to happen anyway. So Ollie Bob, thank you so much for engaging with me and the channel, giving me suggestions to improve. I'm singling you out because of I think you're awesome in the way that you engage with the channel. It's okay if you don't engage with it anymore. I still think you're awesome. Thank you so much. You know, you're also a Scouser, and I'm really, you know, glad that you've commented on this channel. You know, a lot of my content is focused in Liverpool, and I am actually very lucky to have you comment back with your honest opinion. I do feel it's so honest, and I want to thank you for that. Yeah, I mean, I'm very interested to hear if you wanted to comment on how you're helping the poor. I don't know if you would be willing to, because you sound quite modest, but maybe you can give some of us other people to some ideas on how we can help on our small scales. Any viewers watching, very interested to hear that. You do try and love those around you. Maybe you could, you know, that are close to you, maybe you can, I know it sounds stupid, Olibob203, but maybe you can sort of spell out in plain terms, if you can. If not, that's fine. How do you go about loving someone you see every day, that some of us take for granted so easily? I mean, some of us might take our spouses and our friends for granted. What do you actually physically or non-verbally, or from your facial expressions or whatever, how do you go about loving them on a daily basis? Maybe you can actually spell that out, whether it's to friends, family, colleagues. I'm not sure who you're loving on a daily basis, but yeah, if you're able to share that with us, you know, give us tips on how we can better love those closest to us, you know, within our sphere of influence. Olibob203 would be very interested. I would be very interested in hearing that myself. Maybe it'll rub off on me, so that I would be able to love those closer to me better in my life. And you know, who knows, maybe other people besides myself might be helped as well. So thank you very, very much for that, Olibob203. Thank you for your engagement. I'd like to engage with you a bit more in future on this channel. Yeah, and there you go, 23 minutes of a I'm not going to call him a fan, because I feel like I'm elevating myself above him. I'd say he's a collaborator on this channel with me. Thank you, Ollie Bob. And yes, I will speak to you again soon. Stay safe, and all you others, hope you enjoyed this new take on JC Audits, and see you all in the next video, so to speak. JC out.